what's going on, Tackle Warehouse fans? Jake here with this week's episode of What's New at TW. I think we're getting towards the end of August, if I remember exactly what episode this goes into. So fall just right around the corner. Temperatures should start cooling down. Football season is about to start, or might have already started. Let's get into some baits here. So we got some stuff that has trickled in from MyCast, and we got some other products as well that we want to talk about. But the first couple from Daiwa. So this is one that I don't know if we covered this one in the iCast coverage or not, but it was a new iCast release from Daiwa. This is the Blackline series of rods. So we have these in casting and spinning. In the spinning, there is a lot more options, and these are built for inshore and surf fishing. So kind of inshore rods, you can do a bunch of stuff with them. So if you want to go fish redfish and flounder and anything like that in the Gulf, or if you want to chase calicos on the West Coast, whatever you want, this is a great rod for that. So they have the one casting and then a bunch of the spinning. It's got their X45 graphite and their carbon wrapping down here on the bottom section of the blank. Makes them really, really strong. All Fuji components, really nice cork grips on them, and really nice, it's either like aluminum or stainless locking nut on there. But one thing I wanted to point out is, I mean, this is an inshore rod, but I think Daiwa kind of inadvertently made something that is kind of a crossover that people might not be thinking about. So the configuration of this rod with this small split grip and a lot of blank exposed, and it's a 7.6, it's a heavy action rod, it's gonna work really good for swimbait fishing, and specifically those small shad style glide baits, or the chopping style glide baits that are becoming, rapidly popular. I mean, we even have a Tackle Warehouse Chimera shad, that bait, KGBs, a bunch of baits kind of in that category. This would be a perfect rod for that. And I know trying to find those series of rods is a little bit more difficult, and people are always looking for a rod specifically suited for that style of bait. And this would be a great option for it. So if you're looking for a rod for that kind of bait, definitely want to check out that one. Even though it's a saltwater rod, don't let it fly under the radar there from Daiwa. The other thing that just trickled into stock, the new Tatulas are here. So the SV100, the SV150. So differences between the two, the SV100 has got the SV boost system in it, and the 150 has got the original SV spool. So not the SV boost, but still a phenomenal performing reel. And super stoked to kind of finally try one of these things out. The 100 size, really compact, just fits in the hand so well. And that new hyperdrive design they put in there, and the refined kind of gears, and the way everything is put into this reel, and how the alignment all works and keeps everything super, super tight, and really minimize the tolerances on these. You can really feel it in your hand when you go to wind one of these. I think I've owned just about every generation of Tatula, and this one feels better than all of them. So next up from Okuma, we got one that I think is also kind of flying under the radar. So the Okuma X Series spinning reel. So right out of the gate, I mean, it is a beautiful cosmetic reel. I mean, Okuma really knocked it out of the park on this one. What they've done with this reel, it's pretty much all aluminum. When you check it out, I mean, the frame, so it's all machined out of aluminum frame. You got a machined aluminum crank arm on the side, machined aluminum spool, a carbon fiber drag, and it's crazy light in the hand. But not only is it light, it feels really, really well balanced and super smooth. There's aluminum gear, machine cut gear on the inside, and that drag is crazy smooth. I mean, even cranking this thing up, I've cranked it up to probably near the max drag power, and it feels really, really smooth. And then that noise on there, so it's really refined. You can just tell how good a quality this reel is, and an 11 bearing system. And you can use this kind of as a crossover reel. So if you want to do some inshore fishing, you can do a little bit of saltwater, crank on, halibut, redfish, whatever you want. And then you can also use it for freshwater fishing. So any kind of finesse application, you can use it for that as well. Really cool X Series spinning reel there from Okuma. All right, from Yo-Zuri, kind of geared towards the forward-facing sonar, is this new, the flat heavy minnow. Now, one thing I want to point out about this bait is from this side profile, it looks like it would just be like your standard jerk bait, but when you put it vertically, it's crazy, crazy thin. If you hold this thing up into the light, you can see how much lead is poured into the body of this bait. So it is really, really heavy for the size, and this doesn't suspend like your normal jerkbait would. When you twitch it and pause it, it's not gonna suspend. It actually sinks and it shimmies on the way down. And it's made to sink for about 1.5 to 2 foot a second. So you really get down to those fish in a hurry. Then you can rip it like a jerkbait, twitch it up, you know, put your rod close to the water to kind of keep it more parallel, to keep it kind of maintain a depth zone. But what's cool about this bait is it's kind of working all the time. So as it sinks and it shimmies, all the little prisms that Yo-Zuri puts in there, so it's gonna produce a lot of flash. And Yo-Zuri has that action dialed. I use quite a bit of their saltwater baits. Stuff similar to this, like the monster shot. And when that thing sinks, I mean, they shimmy side to side like crazy and flash. It's a really, really cool action. Just something a little bit different. It's not just your normal sinking jerkbait. So it kind of has some action on the way down. And that profile, you know, a lot skinnier, more realistic like a live shad. So this is the 80 size, and they have them in a lot smaller one. So they have a 60 and then a tiny little guy, a 40. So you can go down into any kind of size that you want if you really, really need to downsize your profile, or if you're chasing panfish, the 40 is gonna be a great option. But if they're really targeting small fish, you're dealing with really cold water, that 60 size is a great option for you. Another one that I'm pretty pumped about, actually, even though it looks just like a weight, the Bass Tactics Clack shot, that's the name of it. So it's drop shot weight, but it's hollowed out and they put a rattle on the inside of it. So I've seen weights that have come out in the past that have a rattle inside of them, but because they left the hollow chamber in there and they kind of put the rattle inside, it's actually really loud. So it produces quite a bit of noise, and it's not like some of the old school bullet weights that have a rattle in them. They just have like a little clicking sound. This one has got noticeably more sound to it than other rattling weights I've used in the past. Gonna be great for dirty water, just something different. You want to attract some more fish around your drop shot, but I think this is really gonna come into play, especially for power shotting. So if you're trying to power shot with, you know, 15, 20, 25 pound line on a bait caster and you're kind of flipping into cover, just having something that's gonna click and just do something a little bit different, I think that's gonna be really fun to try out, specifically for power shotting. Another drop shot, a little piece of drop shot terminal for you from Gamakatsu. We got this the new G Stinger hook. So this one was designed by Brent Ayler, and it's similar to the other Stinger hooks that they've had out for a long time, but this one has got this keeper that is actually welded onto the middle of the shank of the hook. Now, what they designed this hook for specifically was for drop shot fishing, but threading baits onto the shank of the hook. So those smallmouth fisheries up north, I believe by this time of the year, I think all the major tournaments have wrapped up. I know we got, you know, we're filming this one. We got a couple next week that are gonna come up. But some of those smallmouth fisheries, especially if you're using like the small flukes or other bait fish profiles, or even, you know, like the flatworms, a lot of guys thread them onto the shank of the hook because it tremendously increases the hookup ratio, specifically with smallmouth. But you can also use it for largemouth and spots if they're just nipping at the bait. And sometimes when you're bed fishing and they're only just biting onto the tail of the bait, this is something that's gonna get that hook back there a little bit farther than if you would with just a nose hook. So that keeper on there, you know, you thread your bait on there, it's gonna lock it into place, and now you got that hook point farther back on there. So specifically built this hook for drop shot fishing and threading your soft plastics onto the hook. From Bobby Garland, got a few new little crappie baits that came out at ICAST. So this first one, their little Underspin. What's cool about it is, I mean, they put Underspin blades on it, but I guess they're kind of parallel spins. I don't know what you would call them, but they put a couple little blades, both of them coming out of the side of the head. So it's gonna give you a bunch of flash and just really mimic a tiny little school of bait fish. And they've got some soft plastics that you can match up right there with it. So they got this new little live roamer minnow. I believe it's 1.5 inches or 1.75 inches. Tiny little minnow bait with a vertical tail on it, but there's no flanges or anything that makes it kick back and forth. It's really thinned out. So just the movement in the water is gonna have that, just make that thing barely kick and move in the water. But you can match it up to that little Underspin or any little jig head that you want if you're really targeting crappie, or if you're targeting bass and you want to downsize. Great options for both here. A couple little baits there from Bobby Garland. From Headhunter Lures. Can't get more, I mean, you can, but it's hard to get more old school than this. The old just curl tail worm. So for $2 a pack, they got 4-inch and 6-inch curly tail worms. I don't know how many of these I fished when I was a kid on a split shot, but they just flat out get bites. I mean, a lot of the older techniques have kind of go by the wayside, and a lot of people don't utilize them. But the old worm on any kind of a drop shot, Carolina rig, split shot, Texas rig, just produces bites and super cost effective. So they got them in a bunch of great colors, 4 and 6 inch. If you're looking for an old school style worm, Headhunter's got you covered there for $2. Now, we got a new series of swim baits that I'm really pumped about. So from Bottom Dweller, we got the Shiner 9, the 6, and the 4. So 3 different sizes. And the first thing I noticed when we got these things is we got a couple samples of them, and immediately everyone in the office complimented how good the colors are on them, and just the finishes and the color schemes and how detailed they are for a soft plastic swim bait. Second thing I noticed immediately, the plastic that they're making these out of. So it's really, really soft, but it doesn't feel like it's gonna tear apart. It's gonna hold up really, really well. Got a big boot tail on there, but it's gonna get great action. It's crazy soft, the plastic that they use on this. So you're gonna be able to fish these at any speed, especially, which is always a concern kind of when you get into the winter time. It gets cold and that really stiffens that plastic up. This is gonna produce that swimming action at any retrieve speed. So these are made to fish with a variety of like the EWG style screw lock hooks, like your Beast Hook, Trocar, BKK. We got a bunch of them now. So it's got a big slot in the middle, and then it's got a hook point slot on the top. So really reducing the amount of plastic. Probably half of the plastic is taken out through the middle of the bait, so you're to help increase your hook penetration. But really cool that you can fish these on that Beast style hook and fish them through heavy cover and not get them snagged up like you would with this. A 8 to 10 inch bait with a top hook on it is going to get snagged. Much more than this would if you fish it on a Beast Hook. And that Beast Hook absolutely sticks fish when you set the hook on them and you get that thing in there. They're coming to the boat. But a bunch of really cool colors. On the 9 inch, we're really pumped to try that one out. And then in the 6 inch and the 4 inch, some colors that are really more towards your bait fish style colors. And just kind of that old school style pour in them, like I forgot the name of this one, but it's almost like a salt and pepper looking color. But when you get them in the light, you can really see the really light iridescence that they've poured in there that I think just really come to life. And then when you get down to the 4 inch, perfect little bait for fishing on an umbrella rig, a jig head, or a little EWG hook. So a bunch of different things you can do with that. Really, really cool baits there from Bottom Dweller. We're gonna finish up with a few new boating accessories. So this first one here, this new Fish Guardian system. So what this is made for is, so it comes with all this stuff. It's got the wiring kit, tubing, and the little pump on here. So what this is made for is you can put this into the back of your boat, back there in the bilge area, and you wire this in and plumb it into your Livewell system, and it's a reservoir for Livewell treatment. And then you put a button, I think there's a little button right here. So you can mount this button right there on the dash. You just hold the button down for 3 seconds, and it's gonna pump some Livewell treatment directly into your Livewell. And it comes with a section with a T crossbar. So if you have a split Livewell or a single Livewell, you can run it either way. But I think it's really cool. I mean, if you've ever fished tournaments, you're filling up the Livewell, someone's back there measuring and trying to find the Livewell treatment and get it all dialed. This just simplifies that process, keeps it all in one place. You can refill it so you don't run out, but just hit the button, goes right in there. No mess, don't have to hassle with anything. Really cool idea there from Fish Guardian. Last but not least, if I can get this monstrosity over here on the table and hopefully not drop it, because this is Corey's from our vlog shoots. This is his personal new graph. So from NBT Marine. So we just got the NBT screens in, and we have all 3 sizes. I believe this is the middle size, is the 18, but we have a 16, 18, and 22. So monster size screens. This is how it came out of the box with this cover on it. And then you open it up, a giant touch screen, really geared for people that are outfitting their boat for forward-facing sonar. Just gives you an option to get a bigger screen up on the front, and you can kind of run your system a little bit more cost effectively, believe it or not, even though these screens run anywhere from $3,500 to $4,000. So they're compatible with the Garmin 8600 units, and I believe a couple more Garmins. So you can just run one Garmin at your console, and then you can actually wire these in and just save yourself from having to buy, you know, 3, 4, 5 different Garmin 8600 units, and you can just buy one and you can run it through this screen, and they're big enough. You can run 2 transducers on one screen, so you can run a forward-facing sonar and a perspective mode. When you add it all up, these are cheaper than buying a full 8600 Garmin unit. And these giant screens, it just makes it a little bit easier to see them. You get a bigger screen, the clarity's better. You can run a bigger distance on your live scope, and it's not gonna be condensed down into a 12-inch screen. So if you're really putting some money into rigging a boat, this is something that you probably wanna consider. If you're gonna drop the money into, you know, fully outfitting something with live scope, forward-facing sonar, the NBT is what most of the pro fields are running on their boats. It makes it a little bit more efficient to be using those systems out there on the water. That's going to wrap up today's episode of What's New at Tackle House. For more information or purchase the product seen here today, click shop or the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this week's video, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and let us know in the comments which one of these products you're most excited about.